records and presentations. Item number 2, open a public hearing to hear a request to rezone the subject parcel at 3767 East Underwood Avenue from a basic zoning of I-1 institutional zone, district zoning to RM2 multifamily residential district zoning to facilitate the redevelopment of the subject land to include uses most likely to occur at the subject location based on market conditions. The legal description of the property to be subject to this petition to rezone is as follows. 3767 East Underwood Avenue, certified survey map number 5207, parcel 1, southeast 26662, tax key number 635-02-15001. Let the record show that the notice for this public hearing has been posted appropriately and published appropriately. What we will do is Michael Lerner, who is asking for the request for zoning on behalf of the parish from Design Consulting Services, will make a presentation regarding the proposed development at that site. From there, anybody who would wish to speak to the Common Council as a part of this public hearing can step forward. Please state their name and their address for the record, and then again, give the council their opinion on the request for the rezoning. Mr. Lerner?
So do the work we did last week.
That'll be fine, sir.
I apologize, can't see through the boards. You heard me last week, sure, I know what I was saying. A little bit, so this one out of the way. Apologize to the audience, you won't be able to see these, but we have to show them to you later if you like. Let's start with this. Okay, thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. For those of you that I haven't been in front of before, some of the faces I recognize from some of the other meetings. My name is Mike Lerner, Development Consulting Services. We are leading a group of development team to put this project together. For those of you, most of you probably more familiar with the site than I am. It's the former Nativity of the Lord church site, surrounded on the north by East Underwood, the west by, the east by Swift, and the south by Hammond Avenue. This parcel, as you see here in green, is approximately 1.01 acres site. The current use of the property, as the mayor said, is zoned institutional. There's the old church on the northeast corner. You have the old rectory to the west of that. The old school building is on the south side across from the school playground, and there's a little two-car garage that's here. Our development team is the group that put together the Sacred Heart Senior Project over in St. Francis a few years ago, which has been very successful for us. Deacon Al, who is currently in charge there, is also the deacon of the current Nativity of the Lord, and he came to us and asked whether or not we'd have interest in trying to do something with this site. We gave it thought for quite a while. Over at Sacred Heart, we were able to do a rehab. It worked itself out good for doing an acquisition rehab and a partial new construction. After spending a fair amount of time looking at this, we came to the conclusion that we could not rehab it, but we liked the area. We had spent enough time over here, we looked at it, thought this was a pretty good area, and said we would be interested in purchasing the property if we could figure out how to do something that made sense so we could afford to tear it down, haul it away, and build from scratch. The biggest issues that we as developers have today with tear downs is environmental. We've had some environmental people through there. It's got the typical asbestos of the area, of the era, etc. And so we're probably looking at several $100,000 in cost just to tear it down and haul it off to environmentally sensitive dump. So as we looked at that, we said, how can we make this work? We are in the multifamily housing business. And we were looking at, how could we make this work. We met with Brian, the planner, and the mayor, and a few other people on your staff, engineer, building inspector, and kind of talked about what could we do with this, got our architect involved, and came up with the concept that I'm going to show you here today. I'm going to kind of move it along a little bit. If somebody has some specific questions, feel free. Otherwise, I'd probably be here for a couple hours talking about this. Okay.
Quickly, while you switch slides, can you say why the buildings needed to be torn down, as opposed, if you have any specific insight into the condition of the buildings?
Yeah, we had some of our environmental people come down and took a look to see what was in them in terms of asbestos and stuff. From our point of view, and I cannot speak for any other developer or what they would do, but from our point of view, there was no use that we could find that we could rehab them economically that made sense to reposition them to reuse the buildings. The church is beautiful inside. There's some very nice spaces in it, but the school is way beyond repair. The rectory building has a tremendous amount of deferred maintenance in it, and the garage is, it's a two-car garage. It's, I wouldn't lean on it real hard; it might fall over. But it's, I mean, some of the buildings. I mean, it's, it's just a lot of deferred maintenance. Nothing that we could do to reposition it. Okay, that doesn't mean somebody else couldn't, but it wasn't for our cup of tea. Oops. Give you a little explanation of what we're looking and doing here. Okay. I'm going to start on our main floor and come back to the lower level to give you a little flavor for what we're doing here. For those of you familiar with the site runs downhill. The grade up on Underwood is about 6 to 7 feet higher than the grade is down on Hammond. So when we've got a site that has some kind of topography to it, we try and take advantage of it. So in our case, first of all, being a tight site, we're going to put all of our parking underground. So we're going to have a lot of underground parking here. And as you look at the overall site plan, as I said today, a lot of considerations that we have as developers today we didn't have 30, 40 years ago. Things like environmental, things like rainwater, things like green and environmental issues. So, having met with Mary Jo, your engineering staff, and talked to her about some of the requirements for stormwater, et cetera. So we ended up with what we refer to as our backwards a J-type lettering here, the footprint of the building, and we're going to have our main access off of East Hammond through a driveway that'll come around to the underground parking. Scale-wise, that's about 24 feet, and it goes down very slowly to grade, so as we drop our building here for underground parking, this will be our main floor above that. So as you look at, come back to that. This would be the actual lower level now. The lower level itself would be a full block of underground parking underneath that J that you see above. And underneath here, you're going to have 75 underground parking spots. And as this comes down here as handicap grade, it'll be able to come in, and you'll have your elevator area and your stairways for exits and things like that. The site meets all the setback requirements. For setback purposes, the front is to the north on Hammond. Our main entrance will be over here on Swift. So just to give you a flavor for how that works. So up above, as you can see before with the underground parking area, you can see that our building here actually goes over, but up above it, above the parking deck here, we'll have some patio areas, we'll have some rain gardens, some environmental things that'll help alleviate some of the stormwater issues. And as you go through this building, there'll be a very nice amenity issue. Okay, our development itself, and I'll explain to you how this pulls together, is going to be 60 apartment units. We're going to have 12 one-bedroom units, 37 two-bedroom units, and 11 three-bedroom units. It's going to be comprised of two major components. We're going to have 3-bedroom townhouses on the north here, and 3-bedroom townhouses on the south, and there'll be one single-story 3-bedroom here for handicap accessibility. And then we're going to have a 5-story tower here, and it's all integrated as one building on one site. And then, as I said, the backwards J here in the middle. So you're going to have the townhouses here, the townhouses here. These will all be 2-story with individual entrances on the front. And on the end down here will be a single-story 3-bedroom because it's handicap accessible. In the tower area here, you're going to have your 1- and 2-bedroom units, your elevator taking you up and down, and the 3 bedrooms will also have access to the common areas, elevator, basement, etc., through hallway in the back, so they could go out the back way and get in there. So as you're looking at this on the what we call the main level, you've got your tower, your 3-bedroom townhouses. Let's see. And then as you go up, this would be the roof of that single-story handicap unit down on the end. Then you got your second floor, your 3-bedroom townhouses, and your tower. Then as you get up to the 3rd and 4th level, now you're seeing the roofs of the townhouses, 3-bedroom townhouses here, and the single-story townhouse. Your 3rd and 4th level will be mostly 2 bedrooms with a couple of 1-bedroom units in here. And as you get up to the 5th level, the top level, we've dropped this back, the units here from the end, so there's a little softness on the side. And up here on the top floor, on the 5th floor, you'll also have your fitness center and some of the other amenities within the project itself. Going back down to the main level. On the main level, as I mentioned earlier, we have our main entrance here off of Swift. You'll be coming in over here. Project offices down here. There'll be a big community room, a lot of glass patio area outside here that people can take advantage of. We include things like private dining room, conference room. People want to have 20 people for dinner. They can use it for free as long as they clean it up. Project offices, storage, other amenities within the building, and so on. So what we're looking at here is our request in talking with staff was to find a zoning category that we thought would best fit for what we're looking to do. In this case, it's RM2 multifamily, and therefore that's our request. A couple of, let me show the building itself, just get a flavor for it. This would be the west elevation. This would be standing on Swift and looking west, and you'd be looking at the 5-story here. Yeah, as I mentioned, we had 4 stories and then dropped it back on each side. Alderman Morales actually made a suggestion at the Plan Commission meeting, which we're actually giving some serious thought to, and that was the idea of putting a balcony up here. Originally we were thinking up here, but we're looking down here, up here, which is about 2,500 square feet for additional outdoor use that would actually be able to look towards the south and towards the lake. Where, as I mentioned, Alderman Morales the other day, the thing we're waiting on is our insurance agent to tell us, what kind of damage that might be if we actually have a rooftop deck. We think it just might be doable. We kind of actually like the idea. So this would be looking west. There's another elevation. This one is looking, this is standing up on Underwood looking south. And again, this would give you a flavor for the 4 stories, then the 5th story, and then these would be those townhouses that you would be looking at, the 2-story townhouses on the end. If you reverse this looking the other way, you'd have 3-bedroom townhouses and so on. So just get a flavor for it. And we're looking at a mostly masonry building. We actually kind of like a lot of EFS as a masonry product. Some of your plan commissioners like Hardy Plank, where we're looking at different alternatives, and between hopefully we get the positive reaction tonight. Between now and when we get back to the Plan Commission again, we'll have worked out most of those details. The project itself, As I mentioned, we've got units that'll rent from 1 bedrooms from $561 all the way up to $700, 2 bedrooms $664 to $900, 3 bedrooms from $767 to $1,000. Some of them are affordable at 50% of median income, some are affordable at 60% of median income, and some market rate units. So we've got a good mix of units here within the project itself. I could.
So, Mr. Lerner, this is not low-income housing.
It's not low income, it's affordable. This is not subsidized. This is a project we're planning on financing utilizing tax credits, which is a treasury program. It's not a housing program. It is not Section 8. It is not subsidized. The tenants that live here will all pay their own rent. So it's not a subsidized project. Our target market, we looked at what we're trying to do here, and our target market is not senior, but it's not big families. We have developments for big families, lots of 2 and 3 bedroom units, suburban areas with a lot of open space play areas. This is not that kind of site. Our target market here is working people and small families. We expect the 3 bedrooms will be rented to people with very little kids that would like a 3 bedroom, or older kids, not people that are looking to play on site, etc. So we see that as our target market. People, empty nesters, people that want a place to live in the neighborhood. One of the things that we found with this type of product is it works well for a community, and just using Sacred Heart as an example, recognizing that those were seniors, but we had about 68 units there. We had about 7 or 8 people who sold their houses in the area, were able to move in by us, and then those houses got sold to young families who wanted to be in that St. Francis area. We expect to see kind of the same thing. So it's a market that we think is there. Our market study people have told us that we can meet that demand, that we'll be able to do it. And as I had my conversation with Alderman Morales the other day, we will market all kinds of places, but we expect our main market to be people in Cudahy. Another thing that we found a lot of times we do a lot of marketing of these projects with your local employers. One of the things that we will do is go to your major employers and say, hey, we've got this housing. Okay, you got people that are driving 20, 30 minutes every day to come here, and we're going to have this in the area. Why don't you tell them about us? Maybe this be good for them, good for you, good for us. So it's something we hope to address as part of that market as well. So.
Quick question again, can you kind of go into a little bit of detail about your market study, and then again, where you intend to draw a lot of your people for your units for? You said it within.
We're talking about apples and oranges. First, I'll give you the apples. On a market study basis, we as developers are required to respond to what WIDA publishes called the Qualified Allocation Plan. As part of that plan, they establish the criteria that the market study providers must address in their market studies. And they will say, they'll define what they call the primary market area, secondary market area, and as you and I discussed the other day, typically, and it's not always, but typically, they'll put a dot on a map and say, how many income qualified people are we going to be able to find within this primary market area? And the market study providers all have to be approved by WIDA. And so whoever we know who we're using, but they all have to be approved by WIDA, and they all have to meet this criteria. They have to show that there is a depth to the market. There's 2 other projects on the table here in Cudahy that are similar. We all have to meet the same criteria. And we feel very good about the market. Years ago, if you needed 10% of the market, you might be able to fund the project. Now they only want to see you using maybe 1 or 2% of the depth of the market. And that's a study that we've had preliminary discussions with our people about. And if we get some approvals within the next few weeks, we'll go ahead and commission that study in time for our application at the end of January, which we've got some preliminary data on to show that. So the apples is the market study itself will address the WIDA criteria that's required to make the application. Separately, now you got a marketing plan. And now who are we gonna market to? Once we get approval of a project, and we're looking probably approval, if everything went well, probably in May. At that time, when we start doing all of our development things, we actually sit down and, go into construction documents, and working on our financing packages and everything. At that time, our management people start getting on board and start putting together and looking at what's gonna happen. At that time, we'll start working on things like, website and brochures and stuff, and different things, like I said, who are the major employers? Where else can we go? I came down here tonight over to home. I hadn't been down here since last week with all the changes. I was wondering if I was gonna end up down on the east side somewhere where I was gonna get off. So I was very happy to see that I could actually get down here tonight fairly quick. The Hoan Bridge to me is a great thing. As a person who lives on the north side coming south, and as you and I talked, I mean, we will market wherever we can. I've lived in the Milwaukee area my entire life. Okay, I have never had the pleasure of working in Cudahy before, but I'm very familiar with it. And Cudahy's got a great reputation. If you didn't have a good reputation as a place to be, we wouldn't want to be here. Okay, so we're happy that we could try and provide something that would be good for everybody, and people will want to live here. And we will market wherever we can, but that'll be, if we get funded, we will market, and we're happy. We're not bashful. If somebody here knows somebody that we should market to, we'll try. I mean, we'll go. Our staff goes out, and we do a lot of outreach marketing. We'll go into businesses, shopping centers, local community. We'll meet with people. We'll come to things like this and make presentations. We'll do whatever we can to try and market a good product, and those are the things that we will do.
I'm happy to hear that. Obviously, as we talk,
yeah.
I worry about if your primary base is taken directly from Cudahy, because really then you're just taking right from one pocket and put it in the other for the city. So in order, I believe, for this project to be as effective as we need it to be, we need to go outside the Cudahy to draw people into the area to make it work as best as possible.
We would love to do that for you.
Two other points of concern before we open it up to the public hearing. As we've worked with at the staff level, and as you've heard in the presentations before the Plan Commission and Community Development Authority, one of the concerns was the height of the current existing building at the Nativity of the Lord site, and how would this building compare with what's being proposed here tonight. And Michael, I won't speak for you, but if you can explain to them what you've talked about, comparing the existing steeple height at the north end of the site versus the building you're proposing tonight.
A good point. Right now, our request is up to a maximum of a 70-foot height. The building itself, as you see it here, the top of the 5th floor is at about 66 to 68. That could go up or down a foot depending on the actual structural system that we get to when we actually go to construction documents. We're considering a couple different types of structural systems. The existing top of the church steeple is up at about 78 feet right now. And as you look at the, one of the things that we've tried to do, as you look at the, as you look at how the site lays out itself, one of the things that Greg Benz, our architect, tried to do was consider, we're coming into your neighborhood, okay, or all of these people that live in this area here, okay? So we want to try and do something that will work for them, work for us, and accomplish them. One of the things Greg did with this was he was trying to look at putting the the two-story element on the west side here, because you're starting out mostly 2 and 2.5 story buildings here. So he kind of did that, kind of stepped up a little bit, and then kind of went up to our tower, where this height is actually just a little bit less than what's there right now. So, and then as a part of that, which I mentioned earlier, was one of the reasons that we stepped this back, even though it cost us 4 units, was to kind of soften it a little, so that we didn't want to build something that just looks like a sore thumb. And so we're trying to create something that, while you don't have any other 5-story buildings in the area, but will accomplish something for you and for us, and kind of soften that look. So that was something that he spent a fair amount of time on, trying to figure out how do you step that up and make something work. At the same time, as you look at it, the setbacks are pretty good. Coming off of this side, we're about 30 feet back here from the alley here, because there's an alley here that someday could be vacated. So kind of as you step it up, so that's one of the things we tried to address.
The other concern before we open up the public hearing was the amount of traffic going in and out of the facility. And again, these are going to be working families, so you're not going to have everybody leaving at 7 o'clock in the morning and everybody returning back at 5 o'clock at night. They're going to be coming and going at various times of the day. And frankly, when it was a school, if you will, there would have been more traffic at any point in time with the opening and closing of school and after school activities versus what's going to be seen on this site. But again, it's a concern of the neighborhood, as we talked about on a staff level, because there is an existing elementary school that is literally abutting the property.
Traffic is always a concern. Who's going to be here? What are they going to create? Are they going to add traffic? Aren't they going to add traffic? I can tell you the very first time that I came over here, I made a mistake of coming over at 3:15 in the afternoon and telling somebody I was going to meet them over here on Hammond. And I got there, I looked and said, where am I going to park? Where is this guy meeting? I had never met before. So we look at these things, we consider all this. And as you said, I mean, these are going to be working people. These are people who pay their own way. We rarely see anything today, the typical 9-to-5 job. Not everybody here goes to work at 8:30 every morning, comes home every day at 4:30 or 5. And so with working people, we expect them to come and go at different times. And I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for anybody else. If I was living here, I just, I wouldn't leave at 3:15. That's the time I wouldn't, try and park here, or whatever. But there will be, I can tell you this, there will be less traffic generated by this building and the people who live here than there would be when the building was active as a church on a Sunday, okay? But I can't, obviously that's a Sunday, and we're talking about during the week. There will, these people will come and go. It's, we're very confident that, the parking and the traffic here is not going to be an issue. If it was, we would have either looked for another solution or we wouldn't be interested in the site. If we as a developer do not feel confident about that, the number one reason we wouldn't do it is because we won't be able to market it. If we build this building and you move in, and a year later you move out because you say, hey, I can't park there, I can't get in, I can't get out, people can't come see me, it's a problem. Yeah, it's not going to work. So we take a pretty good look at those kinds of things, and and especially our market people. My market study guy went down here and looked around, and I told him specifically go when school was in session or letting out to, so he could see for himself. So we feel pretty good about that.
Okay. Do any of the members of the council have any questions for Mr. Lerner? Michael, what I'd like you to do is just take the elevation chart and just turn it towards the audience so they get a chance to see what we have seen, and then I will open it up for public comment. Under the institutional zoning, as the code currently stands, the principal allowed uses would be commercial or adult child or daycares, churches, synagogues, or other places of worship, funeral homes, hospitals, sanitariums, nursing homes, and clinics, libraries, community centers, museums, and public art galleries, post office and postal substations, public administration offices, and public service buildings, including police and fire stations, public or private schools, colleges, universities, or public utility offices. Those are the only uses that would be permitted under the I-1 institutional zoning as the property currently stands. As I mentioned, the developer has requested an RM2 multi-family residential zoning district change. The plans for this development for the conceptual site plans were reviewed by the Plan Commission. As a matter of procedure, they were denied based on the institutional zoning. However, the Plan Commission recommended coming forward to a public hearing. That public hearing is what we have before you tonight. Now, for public comment, if there is anybody who would wish to speak to the Common Council regarding the change of zoning, I ask you to please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and address the council regarding providing public comment to the Common Council. Please come forward, and again, state your name and address for the record.
Right here.
Yes, that's fine, thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jan Singatura. I live at 3723 East Underwood Avenue. I'm a 20-year resident of the Underwood Avenue. My child went to Holy Family School, and I understand the property is in utter disrepair. We need to do something about it. But what is proposed is totally absurd. Really, a 5-story building in a heavily residential area, narrow side streets, tiny alleys. Please, please reconsider what you're doing here. We have so many children in the area, and you're adding to it. With this apartment complex, we are probably going to be adding at least between 100 and 150 people to that one small block area. How many of you folks have been to Adoptech Foods? Once this project is completed, you will not be able to ever park near that store again. This is just totally ridiculous. A question that I do have is who's going to be the owner of this property? Who's going to oversee the property? How can us residents make any kind of comments to whomever is going to be the owner? We need to find out who that will be. And the same thing too, what about the added city services, the police, the fire, even the trash collection? Has all this been taken into account? With 60 units in such a small area, this is just totally ridiculous. Please, please reconsider, I beg you. Thank you.
Jen, I would just like to answer a couple of questions that you proposed. Again, this is an area for public comments, so I don't want to make a lot of comments back and intrude on anybody's ability to comment here. But you asked a couple of questions which I'd like to respond to. Who will own and oversee the property? The answer to that question is Michael Lerner and his company that will be continuing to own the property for many years, just like they've done with the Sacred Heart development. So that under the WHEDA tax credit program, a developer cannot cut, bait, and run, if you will. They're invested in it for the long term. They're invested in making sure that the property is well maintained after the development is built, that good quality residents are brought to the community, and that the property is maintained, because if it's not, the city's gonna come back to him as the owner of that property and make sure that it is taken care of. So that's who will be owning the property. As far as city services added in trash collection, if you will, that is on the owner of the property. For large projects of this size, they do not get residential collection. They have to make their own, have their own collection arrangements. Michael, I believe in your case before the Plan Commission, you said that there would be something downstairs or some kind of hidden trash system that, again, they will utilize their own private contractor to pick up, so it will not be city services that will be utilized for that part of things.
And Mayor, I know you've had issues with the way the parents pick up the kids from schools, especially Lincoln School. It is just totally gonna be crazy, even with all of these extra families in the neighborhood at school time, when everybody goes to work. Does everybody go to work at 8 in the morning? No, but between 6 and 8 o'clock in the morning, there's a lot of traffic in our area.
Jan, I'm gonna knock on wood because Kosciuszko has been one of the few buildings that we haven't had problems with this year. We haven't had problems with many of the other buildings like Lincoln, for example. But like I said, that's where, again, the developers tried to take into account the traffic concerns, all right?
And how many children, added children, are they expecting in this building? Where are these children gonna play? On Kazi's playground? So if they get hurt on the playground, school's liable? They don't have a yard, they have nothing.
Where does a child go to play today if they don't have a yard in that area and they go to play?
They have yards in that
Okay,
area.
again.
They have yards.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next person would like to come up to speak before the Common Council, again, give us your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Lisa Dawn. I live at 3746 East Underwood Avenue. So right across the street from Nativity of the Lord. I have numerous concerns. I'm not gonna list them all right now, but I do wanna go over a couple. I also wanna let you guys know, I purchased my house in Cudahy on Underwood 9 years ago because it was a quiet, tight-knit community. All these people back here, they're my neighbors. We all know each other, we watch out for each other, we take care of our area. Every one of these people behind me can tell you parking is a nightmare on our street now. I invite any of you, Mr. Lerner, come park your car on my street for a week. After, if you're not parked by 8 o'clock, you don't have a place to park. I understand you're doing underground parking, 75. The average household is a 2-car household. So where are the rest of the cars gonna go? And as far as bringing people to Cudahy, offering them housing, have you looked how many houses are for sale on Underwood right now? Do you think building this is gonna sell those houses? I don't think so. They're gonna sit empty. My daughter goes to Kazi. The traffic, I mean, I don't know which one of you guys have kids. If you have a child that goes to Kazi, I do. I live on Underwood. I understand what the traffic is. This is gonna be a nightmare. I chose to buy my house in Cudahy for the quiet block where our kids, there's tons of kids that are running up and down the block. This is not what I want. My husband and I started a small business. When we finally got big enough to find a place that, we could rent some space, we chose Cudahy. If this comes, we're gone. I will not live across the street from that. I know I'm a small fish in a big sea, but you guys need to think, I came to Cudahy because there's generations of people who grew up and live in my area. That's why we care about it so much. This, I do not believe you will get the same type of person. I'm all for doing something with the space. I understand that. It's sitting there empty. I get that. I just don't feel like this is the answer. I would like to see the plans where the entrances are, because that stuff you guys saw. We didn't, if possible, after the
Michael, you
meeting.
could put up, if you wanted to put the other one up as
Can
well.
we get an opportunity to get the spiel on where the entrances are and
Sure.
stuff?
Sure, I have no problem with that.
Thank you. But that's all I have to say, but if I could just take some time after and I'll let everybody else speak, but I would really like to look at those.
Sure, it's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor, members of the council, Joseph Binarath,
Thank you.
6032 South Delaware Avenue. Been at that residence for many years, since 1967. I saw this city develop. I saw that area develop. I saw housing go up. Over the years, I've been approached at that residence by people walking up to my driveway to my house with their clipboard, telling me they're building something over here and I don't like it. And I want you to sign this so that they don't build it. And I say, why? Well, those people. Everybody's talking about those people, and the boogeyman is coming, and it never shows up, okay? Also, I have been a crossing guard at Kosciuszko School, and the police department was there. They backed me up 100%. If I ever had incidents there, traffic control, they were right there. I believe that they'll be there for this. Cudahy is a focal point. We're right on the lakefront, the Holland Bridge, right downtown. Live here, work downtown. Go to South Milwaukee, jump on a freeway, go out to Madison, wherever, 794, we're right here. We're a focal point. A developer comes in, where's he gonna get his workforce? Hey, we got people living right here. Bring your factory or whatever your small business in, and we got people here that'll work for you. So, the taxes, okay? That building that is coming down, 14 years, stagnant taxes, all right? There's a taxable income property right here, okay? If you look in the dictionary, stagnant says not flowing, not moving, follow from standing, failing to change or develop. If you look under growth, increase in size, cultivate, expand, develop. I think Cudahy is a progressive community. This goes along with progress. This isn't a step back. It's going ahead. Therefore, I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would just make one correction to what you said, Joe, is that he said that the property has not paid taxes in several years. Institutional properties are tax exempt and do not pay any property taxes, so therefore, going back to the 1950s, that property has not paid taxes to the city at any point in time. I just, for correction. Anybody else who'd like to come forward addressing common council, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi there, my name is Dominic Jufrey. I live at 5773 South Lake Drive. I'm a third generation Cudahy resident, and to kind of just go along with what the last gentleman was saying, it's development and growth is good for the city. There's obvious things that have to be addressed. These people all live near this building. They're gonna have to live and work around it, deal with parking, deal with all of the resources that are gonna be used by these people. So I don't wanna deny anybody here that right, because I know I would wanna look at it very closely if they were gonna be building a 5-story tower right, in front of my house. However, excuse me, just a simple little bit of math. If there's 150 residents in this building, $20 a day they're gonna spend in the city on various things, just ballpark numbers here. That's potentially $1 million that's gonna be spent in Cudahy extra if they don't, if the residents don't come from, just move from within the city to this place. So it will help local businesses. I think it might attract some new businesses. And in my experience, my family works with development companies and things like that. Not too much with residential, but one thing we've noticed is that residential development companies that are willing to invest and willing to tear down a building to do so. There's plenty of open land. They can build, if they wanted to build something like this, they could build it in a lot of places. But if they're really have their heart set on this area here, that there must be, there's a lot of money on the line with the financiers and the owners of the company. That's a lot of risk to take. So, and when they start doing developments like this, it usually invites other developments and other improvements. One thing that comes to mind is the area around Howell and Howard. I couldn't tell you what's all around there, but I've seen that area change dramatically. I've seen St. Francis change dramatically since I was a young kid. I don't see a lot of change in Cudahy. So, once again, I urge all of you guys, please address everything these people are saying down to the letter, because it's important, because they have to deal with it. But I'm happy to see that there's somebody interested in developing in Cudahy, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're gonna go to the young lady here in the 1759 sweatshirt. That's you, ma'am. You've been very patiently waiting with your hand up. Then we'll go to the gentleman in the back who's very patiently waiting as well.
My name is Jenny Posing, 3933 East Pulaski. I'm all for development in this city. I've been a resident here for approximately 9 years. My kids go to Kazi, and this city was built on a business coming in and Patrick Cudahy building a community around it. This particular development is in a very, very populated area. We have 2 other developments that are in less dense areas. I think that could bring us a better opportunity to have businesses come in. The other 2 proposed, I believe, have first floor businesses that are being proposed there. So it's a win-win. This particular one here, we're talking about 5 stories, whether it's tiered or not, it's taking away from the neighborhood. We're now adding 60 units, 75 parking spaces, and there's 2 cars per household approximately. There's gonna be a larger influx of children into Kazi, and how do we account for that? That means more teachers, more tax dollars. Even though we have tax dollars coming in, I believe there's TIFs going in as well. So when will we start seeing the tax dollars go directly into the city and start benefiting the city?
From day one after the development is up and built and taxable.
And that's with the 15% that they're paying back.
Yeah, Alderman Morales?
I believe someone was, from the school district is here. I saw come in if they want to address any of the concerns.
The city manager of the school, he's out there.
Yeah, I thought I saw him come in.
Director Papala?
Would you be able to maybe address some of the questions?
Right now?
Or do you want to, I mean, it's up to the mayor. It's his meeting.
Okay, yeah.
The other concern that I have is, has the city done an independent study to see and show how this will impact us both positively and negatively, or are we just going based off of the studies of the developer?
We have not done an independent study on this particular project, but again, as part of our comprehensive plan, we have looked at the city as a whole in different areas and what will or won't work as far as development within the community.
But nothing specific to this particular project.
Not a specific independent study on behalf of the city to this project. No, that is correct.
Lastly, I just want to point out that I moved here, like many of us did, because this is a quiet neighborhood that we live in. And I'm not directly affected. I don't live directly across the street. I live 2 blocks away. My kids go to Kazi. I have 3 kids there right now. Traffic is a nightmare. Compared to other schools, maybe not. But when we're talking about increased traffic, no room for these kids to play that are going to be moving in here, given it's a 3-bedroom, too much population in a dense area. And I ask you to please consider perhaps the other 2 projects and see if we can somehow alter this or just kibosh it altogether. Thank you.
Thank you. Move to the gentleman in the back that was raised.